I'm pleased to welcome our next candidate, Jamison Hardy. And I'd like to start, please, with asking you to give us an idea of the strengths and qualifications that you would bring to the job of school director.
Thank you. One of the strengths that I believe I can bring to the township and the school board is my education background is in public finance. I have a master's degree in public administration, and my doctor's degree is in business administration with a specific focus in leadership and finance. And because of that, one of the issues that I see is finance. And so I'm looking at that as one of my strengths as a school board candidate.
Mm-hmm. Good. What would be your priority if you were elected? Do you have a particular, well, you've said you would be interested in the financial side. Is that what you would concentrate on, do you think?
Well, in terms of concentration, certainly that would be one of the higher priorities for me. I know that there are some significant financial issues, especially coming down the pike. The school board has no control over the state retirement program, right. And so there's some unknown issues there. But with proactive planning, I think we can position ourselves to not have as much of an issue with that. But I do have some other priorities. One of those happens to be how the school board is run itself. I think there's some inefficiencies in the actual way the school board is run in terms of the meeting. I also do not believe that the residents should be kept from the public debate. Currently, a lot of the debate happens behind the scenes and before the meeting. And I don't think that's appropriate. I think that the constituents need to be able to hear the school board members discuss some of these difficult topics. I'm not referring to personnel issues here in any way. I'm simply talking about budgeting issues. I'm talking about maybe philosophical issues in terms of where to spend money. So I do have some of those priorities, and a lot of them are financial. I will say a lot of them are financial, but they're not all financial. They're not all financial.
Well, you've actually segued right into another one of our questions, which is, how do you think that there is enough opportunity for public participation in the big planning issues? For example, a new school or the fields issue. Are residents privy to enough information early enough? And if not, how do you think that would be changed, could be changed?
Directly to answer your question, I don't think that the public is privileged to enough information in a timely fashion. I think decisions are made in such a way that the community is not able to have a strong enough voice. My dissertation was on strategic planning, so that's where my area of focus is in terms of my academic work, and I have not seen a strategic plan. I've seen board goals, which are not co-equal with the strategic plan. I think that the school board could put together a process by where maybe every other month the school board could meet with the community and start to process the strategic plan 5, 7, and 10 years out, whereby the community could have a say up front. Because what's happening now, and what's happened in my time in Peters Township for the last 13 years, I've paid attention to it, is the decisions are pretty much made.
And the input is after the fact.
Right, and so it doesn't help. And the residents get upset because they don't feel like they've had a voice. And I really believe that the residents need to have a voice. There are some very difficult issues coming down the pike, and one of those happens to be space and capacity. Currently, today, we are over capacity with the district's capacity. District capacity, I believe, is 5,000, and the last report that I saw was approximately 20 students over that right now. And there's a projection of that being even worse in the future. We have about 30% buildability of houses in the township, which means that that can be a big issue in terms of capacity for our school district. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but the solution won't happen overnight either. And so we've got to start now with the community having input. And I do not believe that that's happened with the current school board.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the school board should be the place where students, or where residents come, or students for that matter, to express concerns?
I do. I think that the school board would better benefit the community by providing a forum for that to simply be the issue. If you go to a school board meeting, they have a time set where they allow comments from the public. And I appreciate that. But it's very limited and very restrictive. And it's tied to the school board business meeting, which if there's an issue that the community wants to deal with, I find it to be difficult to deal with it because there's a pressure to get to the school board meeting. So I believe that the school board would benefit by having a separate meeting, maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, where the only item of business is community input, where you could have an hour or an hour and a half to discuss some of these things in a very open way where there's dialogue back and forth. And I think one of the problems is people fear that. They fear that because a director, as the current board does it, handles everything in the back room. And then when they come to the public meeting, it's simply done. And I think that's wrong. And I don't think it gives the community a sense of participation.
These would be pretty big changes to give more input at earlier and at a wider opportunity, a bigger time period.
Right. Monumental changes, I think, in the current Peters Township School Board. But I think it's time. I think it's time that the current school board realize that the business as usual mentality that they've been using over the last 4 to 6 years is not working. And that's evident by a $5 million deficit. That's evident by a projected $5 million deficit. And I don't think if we don't realize that as a community, I'm a resident of Peters Township. I have 3 children. All 3 of them are school-age children. And I have a youngest is kindergartner, the oldest is 8th grade. I'm going to be affected by these decisions. My children will be affected by these decisions over the next 15 years. And if we don't start now, those solutions to those problems will not be fixed when my children and other children come along the way.
How do you approach, or how would you approach making funding decisions concerning athletics?
I know this is a big deal. I have a philosophy, and it's an 80-10-10 philosophy. I think the arts and athletics both play a major part in the formation of our young people. And I think that academics should receive 80% of the funding, athletics should receive 10, and the arts should receive 10. Again, that's a radical different change from what's currently happening and the philosophy of most people. Some of the greatest formations in my own personal life came through my contribution of athletics and the arts, either through music or through drama. And when you look at the greatest contributions of society, you look at these people who make these contributions, and they are not always the most academically superior students. And I think that if we have a more balanced approach and a philosophical approach, such as 80-10-10, you send the message that there is a place for athletics, arts, and the dominant place, by the way, is academics. That is the dominant. And I don't want to send any message other than that it is the dominant place, but it's not the only place. So
that's interesting. How about the Western Area Career and Technical Center? Do you think that we make adequate use of that for our students?
You know, I have to be very honest and upfront. I need to do more work and educating myself about that topic. I don't believe I have enough information to answer that. And part of the reason is because when you go to a school board meeting, you don't have an opportunity to ask questions, and so you have to dig yourself. And I don't feel comfortable making a decision or a position on that based on community input when I don't have the ability to talk to the authorities such as the school board or those in charge of administration. So I apologize, but I'm not comfortable answering that question.
I was interested that one of the candidates had the information that only 14 students from Peters attend that school. And I was surprised myself at how low that number was.
Yeah, given
because
if
there are many
that's
students
true,
who are not ready for college
right,
and shouldn't spend the money to go to college.
I'm going to assume, based on the information you were given, that let's assume that's true.
Yes.
If that's true, then I think it's very underutilized. Again, I just don't have the comfortable sense right now to be able to make a statement. However, I think that part of education is a vital one, and we need to use it. If it's not being used, we need to use it better.
And you also mentioned something about the not getting the information for the board meetings. And what about getting agendas distributed earlier to the public?
Agendas are great. I think it's important to get them out early. The problem is if you go to a school board meeting and you see that there is an attachment, that they say refer to the attachment, the community never gets it.
No.
And I think that's wrong. So having an agenda is okay, it's great, I think we should continue with that, but I think having all the information available is even more important.
Now I want to give you 1 minute, please, to tell the voters why they should vote for you.
Thank you. I simply think that for me as a candidate for Peters Township School District, you receive a person who has no agenda personally. I also bring to the office integrity, honesty, and a dedicated spirit. I'm not driven by friendships, and one of the problems as I see today is current school board members are driven by relationships with people who have agendas, and I think the betterment of the whole district should be taken into consideration. I also think that my focus on fiscal stewardship is a very important aspect for today. And so for those reasons, I think, and I would hope, and I would ask for your vote. And I think that's the position I'll take today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.